Welcome to the Girls Only Club, ladies. If you are listening, you are now part of the Girls Only Club with my guest today, Macy, who founded a period company, women's products based on a women's only club. There's so much to unpack. Anyway, welcome to the podcast, Macy.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Your social media, first of all, I just have to say, I love social media. I love making TikToks. I love making funny and y'all are killing it. Like it's so I just love following you guys on social media.
Thank you. Yeah, we try really hard. We're like, okay, let's make this super fun. Let's make it entertaining. I love humor and puns, so that's just my bread and butter. And if we can do it, great.
Yes, and I think that's how I found you and slid into the DMs and was like, love what you guys are doing. Have a podcast, love for you to be a part. And you said yes, thankfully. So for those of people who are listening in, like who are you guys? What are you talking about? Tell me about your company and how you founded it and all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started Garnuu. So Garnuu actually means rescue in Nepali. And so I was working with a nonprofit who was doing anti-trafficking work in Nepal. And so a lot of these girls, they were, some of them just came out of trafficking or they were kind of in the school for prevention so that they wouldn't get trafficked. So there's a lot of different women, in this school. And one of the pieces of it was a feminine hygiene training. And so these girls really didn't quite know what was going on with their bodies. Honestly, much like America, you know how we're all starting to kind of learn, like, oh, yeah, we have a period, but no, there's ovulation and there's all these other things part of your cycle. So this stuff was kind of the basics that these women didn't know. And this is a lot across the world. And we were working with them and talking about their bodies. And a lot of these girls talking about their periods, they were coming to Jesus, talking about such a vulnerable thing. And it was the coolest thing ever. And I'm like, I could totally help something, like start something to help women like this all over the world, not just in Nepal, but in other areas. And so that's when I kind of had the idea of Garnuu, which was a period subscription company, because I hated going to the store because no matter how regular my period was, I was constantly running out of tampons. So I'm like, I just would like something delivered to me. That's all. But I wanted something that was feminine and was very identified like who I was as a woman. And because it's such a biological thing, which is, a period. Only women can do that, right? It's a girls only club. And it's something that maybe we haven't been proud of because it's a period and people don't look forward to that every month. But I wanted our customers and myself to look forward to that experience. And so how could we do that with, organic period products? So here comes Garnuu. So we started in March of 2022. We launched with our organic tampon subscription. And then we recently added organic pads as well. And they're like some of the cleanest on the market, which is really, really exciting for us. And we're trying to make it fun, but also making a stance. We say that it's a girls only club, and we get a lot of hate for that, but we also get a ton of support because biologically, again, only women can get periods.
Wow. Okay, so many things I want to unpack. First, you saw a need and you made a company. I feel like there's so many details between that because a lot of us will see a need, we have a passion, and there's a lot to just say right there because I think that God specifically breaks our heart for what breaks his. And that like for you, I didn't notice the need for feminine product or feminine hygiene education, but you did, and you had the unique experience with the women in rescue. Anyway, so many things that you were uniquely qualified and equipped to do this. But you took the leap and you started a company. I want you to unpack there for a minute because I think that there's so much there.
Oh, for sure. So when I was young, my dad hammered into me like the only way you have any type of freedom or any type of way to help people is by owning your own business. And he just hammered that into me growing up. So I didn't quite know what I wanted to do. I went around being like, "Oh, I'll be a doctor and have my own practice." Or, I wanted to be an architect for a long time. So I'm like, "Oh, I could have my own architectural firm and design schools and buildings." And, eventually all of that faded because I really loved business. Like I really love just the idea of how people could create a company that could work for so many people. And, like it's not what people don't realize, I think, in the Christian space sometimes is people are at their jobs a third of their life.
Mm,
And you have to enjoy what you do.
yeah.
Some people don't. I mean, I personally, like, I really want to enjoy what I do. And I think most people do. And I think there's this wave of this in the last few years that people really want to enjoy that. And so that was a huge conviction for me. Like, if I had started a company, like, I'm also, not only am I helping customers, and then maybe, our philanthropy efforts, but also our employees and the people that work for our company as well. So like a full rounded aspect of business. And so that was really something that I thought was so cool, and something I felt would be such an honor to be able to do. And if the Lord could gift me some type of idea that I could do this with. And so working, and I just was diligently working. I enjoyed marketing. And so that's what I did, for this nonprofit and a few other companies. And I really enjoyed it. And eventually I'm like, all right, whenever that idea comes, Lord, that's what I want. Like, and I will execute it. Like, but it has to be something that's meaningful to me. It can't just be fully about the money. Like, it has to be about something else. And so that's when kind of Garnuu came. And, again, like these problems, they're simple problems, right? Like we're not the only period subscription company. Like there's plenty out there. However, the ones that I saw didn't do it the way that I would want to do it, or I would want to receive as a customer. And so I think there's plenty of problems. And I think there's plenty of women too. Women can be really good business women. Like we're
Yeah.
multitaskers, right?
Yeah.
Like you have your thing. There's so many other women that can do just so many different things together, and can create something so cool and so magical for themselves, but also for the world. So I think it's really fun. I enjoy it. And then the aspect, I guess, with the with the girls only club. So we had the basis of it, right? So we had period subscription. And then we found kind of in that realm, there was all of these companies. So all the big ones, Tampax, Always, all of them were coming out that all people can menstruate. And I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious? You have a tampon company. Like only women can use this product. Like the men can use it as nosebleeds. Like you can't market that. And it just seemed dumb to me. And I saw all of these women online that were just fed up. They were completely fed up. And I'm like, well, we're just getting started. So either this just tanks it before it gets started, or we just go for it. And so we just had the messaging, the girls only club, and we wanted to be discreet, So like if you did wear a shirt of ours that said girls only club, no one would know, but you would know. It's your tampon company. And kind of a silent thing, because we have women's sports right now too, like that are being attacked. I have a friend of mine who's heading up the whole thing, suing the NCAA.
Wow.
There's all these things, and women are just being attacked from all these angles. And it's quite honestly, it's the same as the dawn of history too, right? Women are
Yeah.
being attacked with their identity, and that's something that we want to affirm with your period care.
I love that. And as a receiver of your packages, I will testify that they are cute. It's just the packaging, the stickers, the little bag that you can put, put in your bag or purse or whatever in your car for the extra. It's cute. What you're doing is good. Proud to be a woman, proud to, I used to like, oh, your period. And the way I teach my daughters is like, what a gift that our bodies are made to do this. And, not to dread this time of the month. I mean, yes, we're not like do a cartwheel, but it's part of life. And it just means your body's working and you're healthy and everything is good and working as it should be. So shifting the narrative, not only that, yes, only women can menstruate, but also have a cute little package to put your pads in and a t-shirt. Like, I love it.
Well, and it's so cool. Like it's a one thing that kind of shows, it's a fifth vital sign of health, or fifth or seventh, whatever it is. It's part of that for a woman now. So if you have a regular period, that shows, some health for you, and that you're healthy. And so for us, like that's a huge thing, because if you can have a period, like, you're able to give life, like this,
Yeah,
this is a huge thing that means something. And so, and how cool is it that we're able to have babies? I mean, are you kidding me? Like our bodies are freaking incredible. Like
right.
how?
It's bananas.
So those are the things that kind of keep me up at night. And I'm just in awe of with how God created us. And, but it's a thing. And we call it Strawberry Week. So, which is very different. So the Germans actually coined that originally. And so I saw that, I'm like, this is so freaking fun. A strawberry for your period week. How cool. So let's do it. So, make it fun.
I love that. I haven't heard it. I wrote that down. Well, okay, that also leads me to my next question, which you alluded to, the 4 stages of your cycle. I did not know about this until later in life, which is very frustrating. Like, why did we not learn this in sex ed in middle school? But I'm sure there's listeners who also don't know about the 4 stages of your cycle. Can you unpack those for us for a hot minute?
I would love to. We, I'm not a doctor, so I just want to put that as a disclaimer. However, I've done a ton of research. People will come up to me and start talking about either their periods or their cycle. Quite a lot of women will be like, "Oh, I'm trying to get pregnant," and they're like, "Is this TMI?" I'm like, "No, I sell tampons on the internet. Nothing's
Yeah,
TMI anymore." But so the 4 cycles, I like totally agree with you. My biggest issue is why didn't I know this growing up?
right?
Like,
Right?
how cool is this? So you obviously have like menses or your cycle, which is, your period for the first. That's like day one. So that's, and everybody's is different. It could be 4 days, could be 2 days, could be 7 days. So you have that. Now your hormones are literally at zero. So you kind of feel like crap. But, towards the end of it, you start kind of feeling a little bit better, right?
Yeah.
And then you go into your follicular phase. And so the follicular phase, your hormones are on the rise. Honestly, like it's a good time for you. I plan a lot of my stuff during that time because your hormones are rising, you have more energy, you have it together a little bit more with just like mental clarity and also verbal. You know how like when your brain is working, but like your mouth doesn't quite match it. So like it's starting to kind of work for you, and then you get into ovulation, and that's like the prime time for women. That's when your body is most receptive and most fertile. You want to get pregnant during that time. Like it's just a biological thing. Your face is more symmetrical, which if
Wow.
you start taking pictures of yourself at different times of the month, like you'll notice it. And there's been studies too, like showing women at all four of their, and people will ask, oh, which one is more attractive? And they always pick the ovulated.
Wow. That's wild.
Crazy. And it's the same woman. Like it's the same woman in all 4 photos, but she's more attractive during that time of the month, which is
Wow.
crazy. So, but you're also like your body temperature rises if you use any of the temperature monitoring. Like that's when your temperature rises at that time, and so your actual body, you're hotter physically, and like you're just hotter. You're hotter in general. So super cool, great time. People say like you can try to do a lot of your high intensity workouts around that time because you perform really well. And then the
I've heard
luteal.
that, like, sorry to interrupt you.
No,
Like,
you're good.
so a lot of our calendar is based on a 24 hours, but the podcast I heard unpacking this is what you're alluding to, how women, we have a monthly, 28 days of when we do our best work. If we have the ability to schedule it, that ovulation phase is when if you have to do a keynote speech, if you have to do a photo shoot, like those are
Hmm.
your peak times versus your kind of behind the scenes times when you might want to do when you're menstruating. I just find that so
Yeah.
fascinating. Yeah.
It's so interesting. And I'm like, how do we do this? Like, can we just structure workplaces like this for
Right?
women? Like how cool. Well, and men, they're totally different because they have a 24-hour cycle. They're literally the same person every day versus women, you're a different person every week,
Wild.
which is so crazy. And like the luteal phase, which is right after ovulation, and it's the longer one right before you kind of get your period. That's where the PMS symptoms can come in. You're way more bloated. We put memes together where it's like, you're not ugly, you're just on your luteal phase. But it's a good time to be reflective. Like you won't want to go out. You won't, you might want to stay in. You might want to watch a movie. You might not want to, get dressed for the day.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And your body actually needs more carbs too. So like, a lot of people say don't start a diet or a cleanse during your luteal phase because you'll just crash and burn because you'll just crave that cookie that's sitting next to you or that piece of bread. And you just want those carbs. So it's really, I think when women can identify and understand like how they are, I think it gives a little bit more grace because I think a lot of us are very, we want to do our best, but if we can have some grace for ourselves because we are a different person every week of the month and God created us that way, I think it's key.
That's fascinating because how many women are like, oh, tried to start a diet and they didn't realize they were on the luteal phase. And my goodness, yeah, your body was just like, no, ma'am, no, thank you.
Yeah.
But had you started it, at I guess the prime time would be ovulation
Your
or
period, actually.
period. Okay. Because that's the
Hmm.
beginning. That makes
Hmm.
sense. And then you can maybe get used to it and stay stronger. That's fascinating.
There's a book by Mindy Pels, Fast Like a Girl, if you've heard of it. So she has a podcast and she has a YouTube channel, but she really talks about a lot of this stuff and also how to incorporate fasting because fasting is also a different thing for women because you can't, fast for 42 hours in your luteal phase. Like that's just not good. There's,
Yeah.
there's times and places to do that. And she's very interesting. And but she says like the first half of your cycle, you should kind of eat more low carb, more ketobiotic, and then more of a hormone feasting the second half of your cycle, which would include good carbs like sweet potatoes and all these things. So it's really interesting. And there's a lot of different people that have different perspectives on it, but a lot of the basis and like the key points are all the same to
Wow.
help, optimize your hormones.
Wow. See, there's people whose minds are blown on the other side of our AirPods right now. I'm sure that is so.
Mine is continuously blown. Like the more stuff, and they're starting to do more research now because a lot of the studies were done on men. A lot of food studies, a lot of exercise studies, they're all done on men. And so we're supposed to follow that as women. And now we're realizing that none of that works.
Wow.
So now they're finally starting to do more studies, to just on women and on different points of their cycle and how it works for them. And it's really cool. Finally, we're starting to get some of this research, and women are starting to talk about it more. But I think we need to create a health class for this in at least junior high, I don't know.
Yes, but and kudos to you just to adding to the conversation, if you will, because again, I'm sure we just blew some people's minds by having this conversation because it's not being had. And even if 100 more people were, it's not enough because it's been the narrative of just the way that men's were created, which we love that too, but it's just different and we need to talk about it. And I love what you're doing, my friend.
Thank you. No, I love what you're doing as well. Like it's been so fun watching you. I was listening to your podcast, I was binging it a couple different
Oh,
times. And so it's been so fun seeing the truth that you actually can give to women. And like this is another thing, like learning your body and not being either ashamed of it or irritated with it because it's not doing what you want it to do on that specific week of the month.
right. And just having grace with yourself. Oh, well, I'm in my follicular year phase or whatever it may be. Yeah, that's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about organic products because I know I for a long time didn't understand. Oh well, this thing at Walmart is this. They're all the same. You would think, but I know they're not. So talk to me about it.
So I started using, everybody just uses what their mom gives them, like,
Yeah.
or what does your mom use? And so I started on obviously non organic tampons and like they were fine, whatever. Like I had some pretty rough cramps, but they did the job. And then I started understanding organic. I'm like, oh, I guess it's just better for me. I'll just start using it. And then my periods just were so much better, like so much better, and they were still like had their kind of things depending on how I ate that month, and how much sugar I had the week before my period. However, they were still so much better and my periods dramatically changed just off of using organic products. And so I was kind of looking into that, and as starting a tampon company myself, like a lot of the non-organic, you have no idea what's in the products. Like you
Yeah.
have no idea. Like you didn't even have to disclose the ingredients until this last year, what's
Wow.
in your tampons. And like that's
Yowza.
something you're using every single month, like in the vagina muscle, like it's the most absorbent of the body.
Wow.
So it absorbs all of those good chemical, like or good ingredients or bad chemicals. There's a lot of things. And so in a lot of the cotton is sprayed with glyphosate, which we all know how bad that stuff is. And so if you're not looking for like a certified 100% organic cotton, that's like what you need minimum. And then a lot of people will kind of just forego the tampons and just go straight to pads because that's kind of how our natural body was before too. So that's another thing as well. Like you just have to look like, is there a ton of stuff in it? Like, is it organic? The biggest thing is it organic? Because a lot of this, we've had women who've switched from some of the big tampon brands that have a lot of crap in their in
Yeah.
their products, and they switch, and it usually takes like 3 months to feel it because your follicles, they go in 3-month processes of growing. So like your period day will be different from 3 months from now depending on what you do.
Wow.
So we've had women, they'll try us for a few months and they're like, my periods are dramatically different. Very similar thing, like they have less cramps, they have lighter periods,
Wow.
and all because there's not really chemicals in our tampons.
And we're just now disclosing what's in
Yeah,
there. That's bananas.
it's crazy. It's like it's a little unsettling, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie, because it's like this is what we've been doing for how long, and I mean, I think I did the math. We have, I mean, there's so many periods you have in a lifetime, right? Like
Right.
depending on kind of the ebbs and flows and how long you're pregnant, how long you're stressed.
Yeah.
But like we have so many periods and you're using all this stuff every single month. Kind of like it
Ooh.
makes you kind of like, oh, maybe I should switch some of these things up.
Yeah, for real. And I love it that you have chosen subscription because I'm so spoiled and I can't when it comes to going to the store, I'm like, oh, I would rather do anything, especially pads. I mean, there hopefully there is a little bit of sometimes of a, putting it across the aisle. And of course, some, teenagers like, oh, here's a cute boy checking you out or whatever. Like, you just make it easy, is all I'm trying to say. And I love
Yep.
that you're doing that.
We were thinking of creating a commercial literally of just that because it's just so funny, you know.
Yeah.
But the Gen Zers nowadays, no one cares. Like no one cares.
Good.
Even the boys. So we have a couple girls that they have boyfriends and that they work for us, and the boys know more about their cycles, I swear, than they do.
Wow.
It's amazing. And I'm like, this is kind of cool, like and it's just a different way that God made the women. And like if you if the males can understand it too, like great, more power to them.
I don't remember which brand it is, but I saw a viral video that you guys should do it. But anyways, the girlfriend told her boyfriend, "Pick me up some pads and wings, pads with wings,"
Yes. Yep.
and he gets pads and buffalo wings. And like they go back and forth. No, I said pads with wings. He's like, "Yeah, I got pads with wings."
Yeah. I know they're so funny. Well, and even we shared that one on our page, and then there was another one that was, can you get me a watermelon flavored tampon?
Oh,
And like it was because all the different colors, and
uh-huh.
they're like, oh yeah, because they're flavored, and he thought they were flavored. It's just amazing how much guys don't quite know, and like why would they?
Yeah.
They hopefully they don't know that much, but at the same time, I think educating them on the cycles and kind of how that works, and um, when the best time is, and they probably would know just by your pheromones, right, for your fertilization. But it's just really interesting kind of seeing and how to interact with females during that time of the month.
My mind is still blown about how our face is more symmetrical during ovulation. That is wild. I'll have to do some pictures for research. That's so cool.
There was that trend, the inverted um
Yeah.
the filter or the effect on TikTok. So I did that once when I was on my cycle, so when I was menstruating, and then when I did it when I was ovulating, and there was like no difference when I was ovulating. And versus when I was on my period, it was like
Oh,
every
wow.
time. So crazy. So I mean, if you want to try that, a couple
Yeah.
times, it's kind of fun. It's fun to see the changes in your body. You obviously see like how bloated you are, what that looks like. But there's a lot of women, even in the fitness space, that are starting to show what their bodies look like during each phase of their cycle when they're lifting, and you can tell, like you can tell
Wow.
the difference, and based off of their strength and what they can do as well, but also what their bodies look like. So it's
That's
really
cool.
interesting.
Yeah. I'm just over here thinking, if you're going to plan a photo shoot, you might as well look at your calendar of when you're going to be ovulating.
Oh, absolutely. Plan it out. That's what we should come out next. The next product, how to plan your life according to your cycle.
I mean, if
Maybe
you
it
can,
can help. Yeah. I
uh,
don't know. We
I'm
could,
over here like working from home, I can plan when I'm going to. Well, sometimes, a speaking event or a podcast, like, might as well. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm going to be ovulating at that time. So, or no, that's the breast time, but I'm
yeah.
going to be in my follicular phase. So I'm going to need to be doing some behind the scenes editing at that point.
Well, and I even think for women who like work in the office or like have, some of those jobs, like, okay, well, maybe the first couple days your periods are pretty rough. Like maybe you don't take off, but maybe you schedule all of your meetings for later in the week,
Yeah,
another
you
time.
can.
So there's different ways that you can kind of incorporate it. It's not going to be perfect,
Right.
because we live in, honestly, the 9 to 5 was created for a man,
Mm,
like that's how it kind of started.
yeah.
And so, but we've been working since the dawn of his, like we've all been working,
Right.
in some type of capacity. So it's kind of just figuring out what that looks like and how you can, be a female, and really hone in on the identity that God gave you, and it's fun. It's
I
interesting.
love this so much. And, those times when you are supposed to be more behind the scenes, there's still so much productivity and good
Oh
things that can
yeah.
be. And then, but also just, sorry, my mind is so blown by this. Realizing it on the calendar also makes you even more want to get out there, so to speak, on your ovulation stage. And it gives you permission to understand that stage and to own it and to do your best in that stage. And the whole 28-day cycle, there's just so much that can be utilized better, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I just think that this is so cool, understanding this and using it for your benefit.
Well, and even understanding your emotions too around it, which is also a huge sometimes lie from the enemy, like a
Yeah.
lot of times. And it's your cycle. Like I even was thinking this weekend, I was a little lonely because I was ovulating. So I wanted to be around people. Like that's what I wanted. And and then, but other times of the month I'm like, I just want to stay home and I don't want anybody to talk to me. So so like why couldn't I felt like that this weekend? Oh, okay. All right. Like that's where I'm at in my cycle, right? So it makes sense. And like as you start kind of looking like, oh, okay, I'm going a little psychotic today. Where am I at in my cycle? Where is it? And understanding even like just the flows of here's before your period and here's during your period. I think that's what a lot of women will look at,
Yeah.
as when you have mood swings. And for sure, but there's other different emotions you can feel in the different parts of your cycle too.
Yes. Do you track your cycle like on an app? I know there's lots of them out there. I'm curious if you have one that you recommend.
I do. I've been using, I actually have an Aura Ring.
Oh, nice.
So I started using that because I wanted to know a little bit more on what was going on with my body. So it tracks my temperature.
Wow.
So I know it works with, what is that one? Natural cycles. I think it
Okay.
pairs with that as well. And that's definitely more of a fertility app or kind of tracking like, best times to get pregnant. But the Aura Ring's been really cool because just inside of the app, like it shows when my temperature rises and when it starts to drop. So for me personally, when my temperature starts to drop after my long luteal phase, I know like a day or two later, I'm going to get my period.
Wow.
So that's been really interesting. But in the past, I've used like Flow or Clue or some of those apps.
Okay.
They're not always the greatest, but they do the job. Eventually, we might come out with one, but
Yes, I was gonna wonder. That'd be so cool.
any ideas, we love them. We love to hear them all.
Amazing. Yeah, I just you, just writing down, having on an app, whatever it is, that first day will help you know, okay, I'm on 29-day cycle, 28, 20, whatever. And that way you can have a better idea of the flow. So pun intended, the flow.
There's another app. It's called 28. They came out probably within the last couple of years, but they do a lot of, you can track your cycle with it, but they also will incorporate the different phases on how like you should be working out, how you should be eating during these different phases. So that's really cool too. And that's a kind of a newer app that has recently come out.
That's so cool. You guys are doing such great things. Well, I just love to, if you don't, I highly recommend obviously getting her products, but if nothing else, follow them on social media. You guys, you're making, a, I guess, a heavy topic, if you will, light and fun and hilarious. And you're doing good things in the world, making sure, this is a girls only club. I just think that that's simple but profound,
I
especially in
didn't
2024.
I didn't think I'd have a business off of those principles in 2024, but here we are,
Here we
and
are.
we're doing it.
And where are you guys geographically?
So we are based out of Minnesota.
Okay.
So we have our warehouse there, and so all of your products are uniquely shipped from Minnesota.
And you have a lot of cute, I don't know, your interns or just young people who work with you who just seem to really get behind the brand and the messaging. And I just think it just makes it so fun and engaging. I just love it.
It's so fun. It's so fun. It's fun working with younger women too, just seeing the energy and all of the ideas that come from it. I'm one of those collaborative people. So I have to almost get permission from other people before we do anything. Like, okay, what do you think? Like, let's do this, let's do that. And just the fun ideas that we can come up with is always so much fun. I love the creative process of it. And I think now it's even more accessible to start a business. There's a lot of things you can do now, and quite honestly, like I think women were built for entrepreneurship. I really do. And I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are on that because you've been doing it and so many people that do that. But I think women are just so uniquely built and like we're able to do a lot of this stuff and we're able to have families while we do the same thing. Obviously some things, it's give and take, but like there's so many cool things with entrepreneurship for women.
No, I love that. And I think that you alluded to that earlier. I think that it has been a shame that traditionally speaking, the church, um, I don't want to say the church, there has been a Christian movement, women should be silent, barefoot and pregnant kind of thing. And I know that I realize it's very old school and very niche. And I don't most people I know in the Christian space do not feel this way, but there is that messaging. And I feel how sad, how many amazing Christian women should have, whatever, done something, built something, had a business. And I do 100% believe that mothering is a beautiful gift, and there's nothing,
Oh yeah.
but 100% women are, as you said, multitasked, multi genius. I don't know,
Yeah.
that they could do so much so well. And I love that with the access of the internet and social media and working from home and being able to live in it's just a beautiful time to be alive. A beautiful time to be a woman and have these conversations, to celebrate our periods, to celebrate the different stages of our periods. And to even talk about it on a podcast. It used to be a hush hush, like we don't talk about that. I'm sure you probably heard of the red tent days.
Hmm.
When in biblical days, women, when they were menstruating, would kind of be, you go stay in this red tent until you're done because you're considered unclean. And there's a book about this, and I think it was so interesting because those women actually, they were usually on their same cycles, and they became, that was a little sisterhood, that was their women, and that was their people. When they couldn't be around their families they thought were unclean, they were just having a beautiful part of the way God created them. But think about that versus here we are now talking about it on a podcast. I just there's so much things to be celebrated for being a woman, and I just glad that you created a whole company to do basically just that.
Well, I mean, it's fun. It's a fun thing. Like, just, I am so excited what I get to do every day. And I just wanted something that I could empower women with, whatever that looks like. And right now it's periods, and we have different seasons of our life. So I may not be doing this forever, but until, God calls me onto something else, like this is where we're at. And I just think that if I was encouraged to go into ministry or to go into something else, I might, I wouldn't be where I am today. I know when I was younger, I was involved in a lot of kids ministry, a lot of, and it was fun. I loved it. Like, I absolutely loved it. But everybody was encouraging me to, go into that side of things where I knew where my giftings were. And I had people around me that were really encouraging, they saw the unique gifts of business and the things that I was good at and I like to do, and encouraged me to go in that direction. And so I think, like, finding those things that you enjoy doing. And I didn't realize I liked marketing until I was in college, but just the whole fascination of it and just taking more classes and figuring that out, it could be this for you, it could be something else. But I think really just seeing and just praying and asking the Lord, like, how did you build me? Like, what gifts did you give me? What is this? What does this look like? And how can I glorify you in it? I think it's really good.
Girl, preach that. And I also discovered marketing in college as well, so that's so cool.
It's so fun.
Well, Macy, thank you so much for being here. We'll make sure we link the company, your social media, all of that good stuff, and that Aura Ring. Why not? Because I don't have one. I'm very interested in it. That sounds really cool, and just have it easy for you guys to grab in the links of the show notes. But thank you for being here, shedding a little light on our period, our lovely bodies, and how they were designed. And thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.